So I just wanted to come on here this week and overview Rigetti's earnings. They're to report earnings Monday um, after hours, and this is a stock that I've made a video on in the past. And since then, it's kind of been up and down, like Rigetti kind of is usually. But if you look at the 1 year chart, we had this big run up here. I wasn't invested then, and then we saw this huge downtrend that came as a result of the Nvidia CEO's um, his message about the future of quantum computing and how it wasn't that bright. And we saw this huge drop. So I saw this as an opportunity to buy at around $10. And since then, we've been up and down for sure. But now we're kind of sitting at around this $10 range, $10.50 range, which I think is a good range to be at for right now going into these earnings. And these earnings are going to be crucial to the future of the stock just for the near term. I think for the long term, obviously this is a very, very risky stock. If you need any sort of returns in the next couple years, I would probably stay away from the stock. But if you have a longer time frame for investing and you're interested in maybe being a part of the next, AI boom in quantum computing, I would highly recommend getting in now, because right now it is not that expensive given how big this industry could be. Again, only 3 billion market cap. Some people are saying it could get to 100 billion or even a trillion at some point in the next 20 to 30 years, just because of, the potential for this technology. Right now, it is not at that potential. It's not, who knows how close it is to that potential. So that's kind of what these earnings are going to show, is kind of just, is what makes it interesting is they're not going to really report solid earnings really in terms of just like looking at it from just a base point of view. You look at their earnings expected, they're expected to lose money, and they're expected to report basically no revenue and 2.55 million. And that's really nothing. So, they're not really expected to be making any huge jumps. So what makes it interesting is that, they're not expected to make any huge jumps, but if investors see, a little something, a little improvement in their net income, or a little improvement in revenues, or, a detail on one of their new technologies they're releasing, the stock could be at 15 very, very easily, or back up to 20 like it was when the hype was at its peak, and then it kept before it kind of dropped a little bit. So, this is a very interesting stock. I love, being invested in these types of companies, along with the safer companies that I also own, just because, you want to get into these type of companies early. There is a very possible world where after earnings, it goes back down to, the 9 levels, and we're kind of hovering around 7 to 10, like we have been for the last couple months since last earnings. But there also is a world where it goes up to 15, and then, you see 20 hit, and then you keep going and going to 10 billion, 15 billion market cap, just because, investors see a little improvement in the net income. So you really don't want to be the investor that decides to wait after earnings and then invest once it's at 20, and then you're riding the hype train, and then it can maybe drop a little bit, you lose money. So if you have a longer time frame, I would definitely suggest investing now, because the 1050 level, this is a very reachable level. Even if it does drop after earnings down to $9 or whatever, it'll probably just get back up there if another big piece of news comes up. But if you invest after earnings, after it gets to maybe the 15 level, the 20 level, that's where you get a little high, where it could drop back down to 15. You lose a good amount of money. So it's definitely interesting. I think something good will come out of this earnings. They've been announcing a ton of partnerships lately. So hopefully some of those translate to real improvements in revenue and net income. I think if something like that does happen, I think you could see the stock really go higher, because I think the upside in the stock is a lot more than the downside right now. You're seeing much, this trend, this bullish trend, since we were kind of around the $7 or high $7 level, is slowly starting to rise back up again as investors start to get excited and realize that it might be closer than, Nvidia CEO thought and other CEOs maybe think. And this could be the real near-term future could be using quantum computing. So just something to think about. Obviously, very, very risky pick. It could easily go down to $9 after earnings if things don't really go well, but it could also go up. So it's really just your decision to make. If I was an investor, and I'm young, so you just kind of got to think about how many years do I have until I really need this money, and how much do I want it to grow? If you have, many years in your investing time frame, and you don't, need the money right now, you're willing to put in a couple $100s in and see how much it grows, I would 100% invest in a company like this, because this could be worth $100 in, a couple years. And you don't want to be investing in it then after everyone has already gotten in. You want to invest in it now when it's still in its early stages, and after it's dropped a little bit and is a little cheaper than it was back in January when everyone was still riding the hype train. So, it's a big day, after hours Monday. Hopefully good things come, but I would suggest buying it before, if you have a lot of years left of investing. And if you don't, you just want to watch from the sidelines, and maybe you see something that you like and you buy after, that's fine too. But I would definitely think about investing in a company like this before they announce earnings Monday afternoon, because it could be a good day for Rigetti. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments, and thanks for watching. See you next time.